but since I could draw, I realized that I could express myself through the language of satire, through the language of humor, and that's how Good Citizen came about. The artwork that I do for Good Citizen, which involves fine art stuff, of course fine art illustration, right, and just like simple comics and things like that, are all centered around my frustrations from living in Singapore, or my frustrations at the policies that govern our country or that govern our way of life, right? So instead of being a snotty little brat, right, behind the keyboard, I try to express my views through my illustration, but in a manner that is, you know, hopefully entertaining to audiences, so that I can only express myself, but people can have a good laugh, right? So that's for Good Citizen, right? You can find more about Good Citizen through our website or through the Facebook page, which is where we get our most engagement, right? In my daytime job, right, I do a lot of work for production houses, illustration work for production houses. Production houses the most, followed by agencies, then followed by private commissions. But I also do a lot of things on the side. I teach. Because I'm actually part of the OIC, and I know a lot of OIC is the Organization of Illustrators Council in Singapore, and we are a collective that celebrates illustration, and we try to network with illustrators and educate the public about especially the commercial side of things. That means the education is more focused to the industry people, like agencies, production houses, and publishing firms, of how to, like, how much our services are worth, how we can do business with us, things like that. Right?
So there's a lot of collaboration involved there as well,
yes.
Right?
So of course, inadvertently through this collaboration, I will meet other illustrators, my competitors actually, right? But I have learned to take a more harmonious viewpoint, or you know, in regards to this, because even though OIC is made up, or everybody is an illustrator there, right? I come to realize that all of us can be separated or classified by our styles, right, and via our existing pool of clients, you know what I mean? So of course, I don't feel like a terrifying, like, competitive spirit with them, or simply because we all have very, very different styles. There's enough work for everybody, right? But it's just at the edge, right? So in Chinese we have a saying, 吃不饱而不死, right? Which is you aren't entirely full, but you are entirely starving either. So I think that's a good analogy to describe, you know, what I feel the current situation in Singapore is. I think that if illustrators are flexible, they can try and get work in multiple avenues in their market.
To get more exposure.
You can do work in publishing, you can do work in editorial, you can, of course, advertising as usual, advertising. There's work in games, there's work in edutainment, right? Edutainment specifically talking about illustrations for, like, children's entertainment properties, right? And then of course there is teaching and teaching related materials. Okay, so all these are the main areas now, I guess. If you are the type of illustrator that's very niche, right, you can do private commissions. You can get your work up on platforms like Etsy. You can get your work up on Patreon, of course, Patreon. So there are all these various avenues for you to, but you have to be flexible though. Then the market is very big because you have to take more of the pie. And I've got to look to the client and see the demands of the job. Okay, so of course the basic things like the scope of the job, how much is required, how much time is required, what the deadline is, all these I will add and I will take away from the price. Right? I believe in breaking things down to the smallest item, okay, so that I can give the client a quote that is fair for both him and me. That means I'm able to very accurately justify my quote. Okay, Mr. Lim, I'm charging you this much because this will take this long, this will take this fast. You have got so much of this.
So these are your term and agreement actually, policies actually you're looking at.
Yeah. In fact, when I give my estimate, right, or my quotation, I will always break down so that can even be flexible for the client. So let's say if the client is like, okay, Dan, your budget of 5K is too much for us. Our budget is only 3K, right? And then I can go down the line item and I'm like, okay, look, I can cut down the price a bit if you give me more time. If you pay me upfront, right, instead of for me having to wait 60 days, if you can pay me in 2 weeks, I will cut the price for you. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind closing the deal with less and getting paid faster, right, earning less than waiting more. Because my business, I need the liquidity. What helped me was Good Citizen. Yeah, so the work that I did for Good Citizen is more popular, right? And on the internet, you know, people know me more as the Good Citizen artist than the Dan Wong illustrator.
So that's how you make yourself visible. You're
Yes.
using social media,
Yes.
more on Facebook.
Yes, social media and not just through social media, but also through the content, because generally there isn't a lot of satire in Singapore. Right, a lot of political or domestic or cultural satire in Singapore. Singaporeans aren't really fond of poking fun at themselves, partly because of, you know, 爱面子 face and of course the Singapore government. Yeah, you're right. So I managed to find that niche and I managed to exploit it early on. So
that sounds interesting.
Yeah. So people will laugh at my satirical comics, or they will laugh at my satirical illustrations, and then maybe one of them, or a few of them, or a couple of them might be potential clients or potential people who will reach out to ask me, oh, you draw all this, but can you also draw commercial stuff? Technology has put so many platforms like Patreon, you know, there's Etsy, there is you know, there's online platforms, tutorials for you to, like Udemy, in order to learn your own thing. So there's resources for you to learn, and there's platforms for you to put your work out. You know, there are even online platforms that are trying to imitate Uber in this regard, where they have a closed platform, they hire illustrators, artists, you know, even like filmmakers, and then they put them onto this platform, and then they get the client, and then they make the client work with you. So there are all these platforms, right, you know, where you can ply your living that can even take you out of Singapore. Give me an example of something that happened when I was younger. So when I was younger, I'm talking about 23, you know, 20 years old, 20, 24, 25 years old. Imaginary Friends Studio was the place to go to. Imaginary Friends Studio, they are an agency, illustration agency headed by a gentleman who's very business minded, right? So he runs the show with a bunch of artists, right? He's like an agent representing them, and he finds the clients from overseas, and they are big clients, mind you, like big game companies and comics companies from overseas. And they are good gigs, and every Singaporean boy or girl my age who wants to do illustration wants to go to that company because they are the superstars of illustration in Singapore then, early 2000s, right? Yeah, even I wanted to. I applied multiple times. I didn't get in, but I applied multiple times. However, if you look at the business now, their business model has changed entirely already, right? So it's very hard to run this. At least I feel this. I'm one agent. I have a stable of illustrators. It doesn't work that way anymore. Now I feel like we are moving more and more into this freelance, the gig economy they call it, right? So every artist also has to be a businessman. Every artist also has to run their own business. Right, so
of course there are pros and cons to having an agent or representative. Yes.
I realize that I'm starting to take on more work now, where the solution is not my personal style. So I find myself like engaging younger illustrators to work with the client. But what I do is that I'll art direct. Yeah, so I will you know, get a very clear idea of where the client is coming from, and I convey it to the illustrator, and then they do the work, and then art direct, I vet. Right, it's more of a overlooking process than me actually doing the work. Or if I have to, I will step in and I will like tweak it myself at the end before showing it to the client. Right. So I find myself doing a lot of this nowadays, and I wish to do more. I think it's a natural step for me to you know, not just draw my own stuff, but to jump on the project. So I find a client for you, have you manage, then you help me draw. Yeah, that kind of relationship. And of course, they'll take a majority of the cut of the money because they are doing most of the work. I'm just talking, you know, pointing and talking fingers. Yeah. So I want to not only do that, but also find a way to do a sustainable business model. That means I don't overcharge the client, and I don't undercharge the illustrator, yeah, and I still can take a cut. So it's like a seesaw.
situation.
Yeah, win-win situation,
Yes.
yeah. I see that NAFA has been doing a lot of education, arts education, for professionals, for older people, basically adults who have already established their own careers. They are accountants somewhere, they're systems analysts somewhere, they are in marketing somewhere, but deep down inside they want to learn a creative endeavor. They want to do oil painting, calligraphy, life drawing, sculpture, or anything. Maybe they want to learn video editing, just because that man has integrated these two realms of knowledge. Something will happen. That's where the magic happens, and I'm not qualified to talk about it, but I only can tell you from my personal experience that there is a magic that happens when two realms intersect, and it will affect in a way that you won't know. It's very magical. It's a very magical process. In terms of design, so when we zoom out, right, and then you see this focus on design, I think it's hyper important because I feel like when I was younger, there was a lack of design thinking, and I think design thinking should be applied into all industries, right? Because whatever you do, you are I would assume like you're doing something to help people, right? Even if you're making cars, if you are in an R&D lab, at a pharmaceutical company, or if you are working engineering or construction or in the Port Authority of Singapore, everything that you do has to be improved now, right? I mean, I assume you want to get better and better at your job, and design thinking is all about that, about getting more comfortable, more efficient, more creative, more innovative.
Yes.
Exactly. So this very big push, this government-backed push, right, is beneficial to Singapore on a whole, but this is again, it is the results. It is not quantitative. You